Welcome everybody. It's Rev. This is going to be a tournament report based on last night's tournament, the local tournament that I went to. I will cut to the chase. I did win, which is nice to get the Dublinski. I went 4-0, and I was the only one that was undefeated, so we just cut it there. We don't really do like a top 8 or anything, just because it's usually about a little over 10 people that play. Um, just as a kind of nudge, it's always helpful if you subscribe or share the video or anything. Again, really just to know where I stand with that. I don't do this for money or anything. I just really do enjoy legacy formats like Goat and Edison. So I figure if I can be a net positive to the community and build a channel and draw more people in than I drive away, um, then hopefully we can continue to grow the format and make sure it has legs. So it's always helpful for the support or really supporting any uh, legacy format YouTuber for that matter. Um, So here is the list. Um, I don't know if maybe I'll briefly go through the list, just because this is going to be very different than a video I'm releasing. A big issue that maybe I need to reconsider is I record videos and then release them like a month to a month and a half later. This is going to be uploaded immediately, so there's kind of a mismatch between some of my opinions at points, just because I've changed my mind. So the cat video coming out in a week or two is going to look a little bit different than this list. Um, and then I'll talk about the list briefly, and then I'll talk about each round. So it's Catburn. Um, the monster lineup is pretty standard. Um, some people elect to run more than 6 cat targets, like they might do like triple wombat and a Milus plus the pandas, or like 2 Milus or 2 pandas or 2 wombats rather. I think this is pretty much perfect. I don't think I mean, I've been thinking like about like an additional Milus, but I'm not sure if the additional brick is worth the additional damage output. Another card that has the highest ceiling in the deck is Cyberstein, but honestly, I've just seemingly had a lot more success with Lily because there are a lot of game states where like um you can't just like auto win with Stein. The thing about Stein that's nice is there have been a handful of games where I need to bring out something very specialized in the extra deck, like a Ryu Senshi won me the game recently. Like not outright won me the game, but it like just put the opponent in a position where they couldn't out it and play or like stop my attacks since I just like had to make a read that there were normal trap cards. Um, I've sporadically brought out like Dragoon versus Turbo just because they have a very difficult time dealing with this card because they need like basically Tribe to out it or to attack over it or something. And then there are situations where you like auto win with Balter, or you auto win with Last Warrior versus like some combo decks. And then of course the most frequent thing you bring out is the Master of Oz, which if you just draw the nuts, like you have over 8,000 points of damage. So you can do it a few ways, but you go like True Nade, um, Will, Cat, and then you bring out like 2 Wombats and a Stein, or you bring out like Milus Wombat, a Stein, and like bring this out, and that's over 8. It's kind of funny because the video I uploaded, I basically well, I don't want to spoil it, but like the deck in that video looks like the most broken deck of all time. But in reality, like you very, very rarely have license to just go for 8, like and just say fuck you and just auto win. It's just very rare, because usually you're going to be drawing like some of your pieces like before a cat, so you might have like just to pull out pandas or something, or you just don't have back row removal and you're making a read that they have like a Saku mirror or torrential or something, or you don't have the life points, or one of a million other things. So it's very rare to just get those auto wins, but um, Stein does give you the ability to have those auto wins. But like like mid game type stuff when I'm using Will, I actually find myself like needing to bring out sometimes like uh Lily or Exiled. Like sometimes I just have to bring out Exiled with the Will and just pop something that's gonna make me lose. like a BLS or something, and then Lily, like for certain matchups, because I can use it and then still have enough life points to leave it on field, and then just use it again if they have to try to attack over it, um, or it forces them to set. Um, whereas like with Stein, I mean, I guess you could bring it out in defense or something, but like you have to pay 5, and you usually have already taken some damage, and it just like 5 is just a lot unless you're auto winning. Like it's a whole lot. Um, the spell lineup, everything up until mind control is standard. You literally just can't alter any of these cards. Mind control, basically everyone's running one in the main because it's better than nobleman because not only can you plus off of it, but chaos turbos everywhere. But sometimes you just have to get the monster out of the way. Um, so like if you need to push for a bunch of damage, like this card's very, very good for that. Um, a one of is, in my opinion, a staple. But like two is also really good. Like there are a lot of times where I'm like very happy to have mind control, like in most matchups, especially against stuff like chaos, which is basically good versus almost anything that they play. Like all the flips and chaos monsters, and then like even if you're going for game, like you don't really like sometimes you just mind control something out of the way and then attack with Lily. Um, or you like mind control something out of the way and like you just like even if you know it's like 99% a serpent, like you can just mind control something out of the way and like attack for 16 with wombat and that like gets you in burn range. So this card's really, really good. You need one. Two might be a little too much, but we got the second one on the side. United We Stand. It's kind of funny how like cards like come in waves. I think this is a staple, quite frankly. Um, because it's just another burn spell and it allows you to out stuff that you otherwise wouldn't be able to, like a spy or like a Sorkin attack position with like certain other monsters. Like it has like a very helpful breakpoint at times. And then of course it gives you the flexibility. Like if you don't have life points with Stein or like Lily's gone or whatever it might be, you can go like cat will bring out another cat, and then you have 4 monsters on field after you activate the second cat's effect, and then this represents 4,000 points of, sorry, um, with 4 monsters on field, it's 3,200 points of damage, which is just crazy, especially when you have piercing, um, which did come up actually like a few times. Like sometimes you have to like make an OTK push into an unknown set and like do the math on like, okay, if it's like a spy, I'm not going to be able to win, but I just have to make the push. If it's a faith or a knight assailant, I do win, or it's like a serpent or something. So you just kind of have to like make those judgment calls. Snatch steal. Um, this can be a side card, but it's pretty darn good. Just because it does allow you to um, just like stay in the game, honestly, and like push for damage. Um, like you're not like really trying to go plus in this deck, but um, it serves a very similar purpose to mind control, except it can be used like more aggressively as well. Um, so I really like it in the main. A lot of people do side that though. And then lastly is swords, which is like these three are the flex cards in my opinions. United We Stand, Snatch, and Swords. I really like them all. Um, I cut one gravity bind for the swords, and I love it so far. Like the ability for swords to prevent your opponent from like switching Ojama tokens to attack mode and attacking with them is really good. Um, it's also good so so that like anything under level 3 can't attack you or level 3 or lower. And then it's also like the best thing about this, honestly, I won't say the best, but like one really, really underrated part of this is the ability to see your opponent's face down monsters. Because like this deck really doesn't play for card advantage. So if like you flip up like a Faith or something, um, like unless they get back Duo, you're really not that upset. But you can flip like a lot of bluffed crap, and you can flip like a lot of like Knight Assailants that your opponent's like forced to set at times, and it gives you more clarity on whether or not you can OTK, like especially if you have it up for 2 turns and then you draw like your Trunade. like, and you have like an OTK-ish hand, you just like Trunade, replay it, and then it's like, okay, do I go for it this turn or not? Or you can just like go for like 3 to 4,000 damage and say like, okay, I have like 2 turns to draw like a burn spell or something like, or a burn card, or something like that. So it's really helpful, just so that you get more information. More will be said like with Ceasefire too. One bind, I like one so far, just because I slotted in the swords. Um, 3 trio, ring, 3 secret barrel, and just desserts. So in terms of staples, ring and 3 barrel are staples. You can't cut them. I would say at least 2 Ojama trio are staples. I'm considering if it's right to run 2 or 3. It's just really good with Panda, and like, even if you trio and then like you cat for 2 pandas, that's really not that bad. I mean, it's not like the ideal scenario, but I won like a few games with kind of just like not optimal stuff last night doing stuff like that. And then the one just desserts card's good, but um I just think barrels better into the pardon me barrels into the beta or better into the meta, and you like the hard part with running too much burn is you basically have to cut these cards, which is United We Stand, Snatch Steal, and like probably a swords. And I just don't feel like I like them both, but I just feel like these cards have higher ceilings and they're better. And they allow you to play more flexibly because like when I was running too many burn spells, like there are kind of just too many games where um like you draw a bunch of like a bunch of burn spells. I keep on saying spells, burn traps, and you can't really do anything. Like there are just like games where you're like, okay, I guess I have to just activate just desserts for 500. Or like your opponent doesn't have a monster on the field, and you're like maybe forced to set like a trio and adjust desserts, and like just in case you didn't know, like if your opponent heavies you and you haven't preemptively activated trio, you can't activate just desserts if they have no monsters on the field. So this feels really good so far. It's really not the win con of the deck. You have to usually chip in for like at a bare minimum, probably like at a minimum 50% of the damage with like attacks. Um, and then like just figure out what the path to victory is like with some of the burn stuff. Um, but like the final thought on trio is like at 2, um, that would allow me to slot in a ceasefire just because there are things I kind of want to do or need to do with the side deck, I think. Um, and I'll talk about that in a second. And like the hard part about this is like this deck does run a lot of bricks, but you can kind of play out of most scenarios unless you just get like absolutely steamrolled. Um, but like drawing 2 trios is it's pretty bad. It's really bad actually, just because they're like when it happens, you feel like a god. Like if you like Ojama lock somebody with 5 tokens, but that's really hard to do with this deck. Um, it's really hard to do, and I just feel like that's like a corner scenario where you might be able to do that. Um, whereas like the amount of games that I've had where I draw like duplicate trios is relatively high. And like you just can't afford to have like that many dead cards because like I've said this plenty of times before, but like if you have a dead card, it is a -1. Um, but then again, it's like just so good with Panda, which it's like yeah, I don't know. I mean, if I could play like 2.5, that's probably where I would land, but I'm undecided on that. Um, next is the side, and really the side, like basically like you have flex with tribe and like breaker depending on matchups, and then like what the side primarily is used for is to like smoke into like a more controlly burn type thing, like not pure burn just because you're not running all the burn traps, but for for instance like versus warrior, you you can't like I won't say you can't, but it's like really hard to win with this main deck, so you have to side like out 3 cats, Wombat, Milas, Stein, Will, and a Mind Control at a minimum, which I think is 11 cards. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah. And then you side in like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And just go with like a way more grindy, stally version with floaters and like getting uh like alternate burn damage in kind of with the Cypher Soldier effect. So that's kind of how you smoke into certain matchups. Um, and then versus stuff like Chaos Turbo, like I usually side out like a trio. Just Desserts isn't like all that good. The Ceasefire is better, in other words. And I usually side out like a bind, just because you don't usually need to stall that hard. And I'll bring in um, potentially like a tribe, um, a mind control, one, two, ceasefire, and a solemn judgment. And that's kind of that. And then like every other matchup, there's like going to be variants like control type stuff you want to book in, and like if there's another flip package, like you can bring in like mind control over certain stuff. Like this is for alt win stuff like RGT or the mirror. Um, and really, um, like the side deck itself, like the one thing that is certainly on the top of my mind is like moving something to the main so that I can run two Solemn in the side, because Solemn is amazing games 2 and 3, because what your opponent is going to do if they're good is just side in walks and or like a roar if they're on that, or more and more people are playing Hollowed Life Barrier if they're on turbo. And like you kind of just have to just say no to like that type of stuff. Plus it really naturally fits in with an OTK deck like this, or I won't even call this an OTK deck. It's a deck that can OTK, but like it just does very big chunks of damage, like all at once. Um, so like just Solemn is might it's one of the best cards in the side. And then like even against Warrior, if your opponent usually should be siding out Solemns, and I actually faced a Warrior that didn't in the tournament, so I'll talk about that. But um, you having two Solemns or any number of Solemns and your opponent not having them is just it feels unfair. And like you can just like when they make a big play, like just saying no is just so good. And you don't have to worry about Solemn Wars. And if they do Solemn, it's like, well, there's half your life points. Like all I need to do is like get one big push through. Like you don't even need to like have the nuts. You can just like go like cat and I'll attack into some like Ojama tokens or something with pandas. Like you can usually win after that. Um, so yeah, that's that. What I was thinking, as I had mentioned, was like Ojama Trio, and then like putting this in the slot just because like you're kind of preed a little bit for um, Chaos Turbo. This is really good versus Chaos Turbo, and it's just like it's not even like a bad card like in the first place. Um, and then like fitting in another Solemn. Um, the other thing I'll say, kind of while I'm at it, is like kind of what people were playing at this locals, which was very very strange. It's usually like Turbo and Warriors, and like there's one Reasoning Gate player, which is why I have the Roar in here. I kind of have to in real life. But this time, we had like the Reasoning Gate guy who had like a Stein in there too. We had another guy who like literally hates Goat format. He literally said at the beginning like he just wanted to make people's lives hell. So he he brought like a Stein variant that uses like Nature's Call or something. I can't remember the name of the card. Wild Nature's Release, like just to OTK. And then we had another cat player, so I was like, oh my god, like it in my future locals, I think I have to run two roar in the side, like if people are going to be playing like that. So yeah, just something to take in mind. You have to like understand your local metagame. Um, and that's about it. So the matches. Round one, I played against, and I'll say like I think I played pretty well. Um, And in real life, I kind of feel like I play better. Like, there's just something about like feeling your cards and like flipping them as opposed to like mousing over them. And like, people do give a lot of tells in real life that they might not suspect they're giving. And I think it's a huge advantage to be able to like a lot of players are like head down on the mat, like, and they don't even look at their opponent. But like, look at that motherfucker in the eyes, and like, look at his face, and like, see like what his reaction is like when he draws for turn, and like when he's setting, and like shit like that. It's just it's I don't know. In real life is fun as long as people are being respectful to each other. So um, I think I played like very well last night. There were a few questionable plays, one of them being round one, and this was against Rescue Cat. And he went first, and he set four back row and one monster, and I this is a player he's a very powerful player, but I don't think I've played him at Goat Locals before. Like I know he plays Edison at Modern, I believe, and he's good. Um, so I didn't know what it was on. I set my Cyberjar and I believe two back row and held a charity in hand just because I like without knowing what he was on, I didn't want to burn that. Just because you don't really have full knowledge on discards. And then he flips Morphing Jar on me, and then I realize he's like I thought he was on burn. So he discards three cards and he had none in hand at that point, I believe, or maybe just one because he wasn't able to set them all. And then pardon me. And then yeah, that was basically that. And then it comes to be my turn, and I probably should have read Morphing Jar, but I just don't know like what I was willing to commit to field and risk. So then I flip Cyberjar, or no, he attacks into Cyberjar on his turn, and then it blows up the field, and we do the summoning thing, yada yada yada, and then I just OTK him next turn. Um, and that was basically it. And it was just because I had burn and he had a shit ton of cards after Morphing Jar and then Cyber Jar, so I was able to just burn him down and like I don't know exactly what the combo was, but I know it was like Cat Will or something, or maybe it was Trunade just Cat, and I was able to just finish him off. I think it involved pandas. So that was round one, game one. Round one, game two. Um, I didn't really know what to side, frankly, because I saw like a cat, and then I saw um, a Gigantes, and I didn't see. I don't think I saw any burn cards. Now that I'm thinking about it, and I don't think I saw any stall, but I did see Panda. So like I just did I see Panda? I don't think I saw Panda either. No, I think the two monsters that I saw game no, the three monsters that I saw game one were Morphing Jar, Cat, um, and Gigantes, which stayed in his hand. So I didn't really know how to side. I thought he was going to be on like an Earth heavier variant, like an Earth aggro variant, which apparently he wasn't. He just like has the Gigantes for extra reach, which I think is a cool idea actually. Like um, maybe as like a one or two of like certain builds. Um, but I was thinking it like might be some sort of aggro thing, so I don't remember what I sided in frankly, but I'm assuming it was like stuff like Roar, um, like Mirror Force, um, and I can't really remember what else I might have sided in. I think Tribe just to like clear tokens, um, which I suspected, and like in hindsight, like after we played, I think he was on like pandas, and like I might have missided a little bit, but I didn't have perfect information, and I won the game somewhat easily. Not that he played poorly, I um, just kind of was able to stall for a turn or two, and then assemble a combo and finish off with burn, and it was pretty straightforward. So that was round one, 2-0. Round two, I played against the player that had a buy. I just like formally introduced myself to this player um, this tournament actually, and I've seen him at previous goat tournaments. He's a really nice guy, um, and he was playing something like very casual. Like we were talking before the tournament. Like I kind of just walked up to him and his friend and like introduced myself, and talked for like 5 minutes or so, and like they just basically pick up like random decks and cards like with various formats in play. So he was on. I won't even call it like good card pile. It was just like um, I don't want to call it playground Yu-Gi-Oh just because that kind of is like talking down to it, but it was just like kind of random cards. So um, I 2-0'd him. I don't think there was really much to say about that. I don't think I misplayed at all. He did make a few misplays. Um, don't think if he didn't misplay, he would have won anyway. But like he was doing stuff like setting stuff before like main phase two when he shouldn't have been, and like attacking into cyber jars. Um, he was like blind, um, like spacing, or I think it was dust tornado, blind dust tornado, like my back row, like, and then I'd set up a floodgate later, and like he had mentioned like he wished he had it, and stuff like that. So I don't think there's really much to say. And he was just giving me too much time. Like he had like big beaters in his deck. Like I saw, um, it's just like big stuff. Like I think there was like a mechanical chaser in there, and then something else with like 1900 attack. And like at some point he set one of them, and like if you play against Cat, like probably what you want to do is just win quickly, which is why you need to side with this deck into stuff like warrior protection, because like the more time you give this deck, like the more you just auto lose. Because if like a level limit area B sits on the field for like 4 turns, that's a +4 for this deck. Like again, this deck doesn't win by plussing, but like you just can't give them time to build resources because you're just dead. Um, so that's that. Round three. Let me think. Round three was against another very powerful duelist who frequents Edison and Goat mostly. I don't think he plays Modern, so he has a place in my heart. And he is a warrior player. And um, I round three, game one, we had a lot of back and forth. These were really, really like exhilarating games, and it was round two I think I made, or game two I think I made the misplay. But game one I played very well, and I just kind of was able to buy myself enough time. And I don't think he misplayed or anything. Um, from what I saw, I think I just had enough time, and like if I hadn't drawn a floodgate, I probably would have been dead. Because he was playing pretty aggressively, and there were a few like good solemn stops on his end just because he like had those in the main board at this point. So I got game one. Game two, I side in the um, like more stally control package with like nightmare wheels, the cipher soldiers, um, and to my mind, like had game through anything. Um, but I activated Trunade and he solemned it. I was like, oh shit! Like he kept the solemns in. But the hard part was he waited to use those solemns until very late in the game. So like the cost wasn't that high for him. Um, and we like got to a very complicated game state with like a 5 chain link thing. And like I got him down to I think it was either 1050 or 950. I just remember there was a 50 in there and it was like big, very, very low. Maybe it was 650. Like yeah, it was 650. He got very low. Um, and he played the chain correctly. I played the chain correctly, and earlier in the game, I forgot to mention this, but earlier in the game, I think I misplayed, which was he activated reinforcements of the army, and I had a set Cyberjar that was known, just because I was very behind in cards at least, and didn't have enough push at that point in the game, because it was somewhat early. And then he, um, what did he do? Oh, he reinforcement of the army, and I had back row of, I believe, Mirror Force, um, Mirror Force, and Solemn. I'm trying to think if there was anything else. I think it was Mirror Force Solemn and Set Jar. Maybe as I talk through it, I'll remember exactly. But so we reinforcement of the armies, and I was thinking like, do I Solemn here? And I decided not to. I just said like maybe he'll misplay and bring in like Mystic Swordsman level 2, which I think was dumb. Like he's a good player, so he got exiled. He summons exiled, and um, I Solemn that. The Where I made the misplay and is like right when I let him search with Rhoda, I was like, he has 2 sets. Like, what if he has Call of the Haunted? I haven't seen that yet. And what if he has like Premature Burial? Like, he has a ton of life where Premature, like, the cost isn't really gonna like make a difference either way. So I was like, if I just Solemn whatever he summons, like, he can just go again. So I should have Solemned the Rhoda, but I Solemned the summon, and he did have Premature Burial, and he popped my jar, and that was critical. I actually didn't resolve like hardly any jars. Like, at all. Like I solved one jar, resolved one jar, game one, round one, and then like round two, um, versus the newer player. He just like played right into it, and I think it might have even been known or something. But like after that, I didn't resolve any jars, which was crazy that I still was able to win. And yeah, so I misplayed there, I believe, and then um, there was another play which might have looked like a misplay from like the outside looking in, but it just kind of didn't go my way, which was I had Sangan and a Cypher Soldier up on the board, and um, he had some back row, and he was at like 3,000 or something. No, he was at 3,050, and um, I attacked with both in attack position, and I was considering changing Cypher Soldier into defense position, but I figured if I could put him on a 2-turn clock, that would be better than like the 1-turn clock. So I went for it, and he had Mirror Force, and I got something with the Sangan. I don't remember, but it was fine. I think it was the correct play to play into Mirror Force in that case. Um, but he just had it, and because like I don't think it would be right to like just attack with Sangan, and that's like a 4-turn clock. That just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Or maybe I could have like attacked with Sangan with Cypher in defense and then just switch them to attack position the next turn. I'm really not sure, but that's how it went. And then really from there, game three, we had a really grindy game, and I was able to set up a floodgate and just continue to draw, and it was close, and he was getting aggressive, and um, more or less, I was just able to draw enough cards to burn him with, I think, Just Dessert's Barrel at the end, and he had very few cards, so it just like was taking forever. I was like, yeah, if he outs this, like, this is going to be really tough. And then his heavy was gone, and I was able to like even set up a swords too. I was just like, fuck it. Like if I have 3 turns and another floodgate to back that up, like he can't like top deck a like an MST and win from there. The other play that I made, which was I think good, was he had a Blade Knight on the field and a set, and I was kind of like considering like how am I going to win this, and I summoned my Breaker and just attacked over the Blade Knight, and then used the token removal and hit like a bluff, which I just like I even said it out loud. I was like, all right, I'm gonna get greedy, and went for it, and it paid off. And like having that judgment to like know when to like kind of get greedy is I think a very underrated skill. Um, and it worked. The Mirror Force one didn't, so I guess you know take it for what it is. And then round four, I played against Chaos Turbo, and I um I 2-0'd him. I don't. There's not really that much to say about those games. I think I just played very well, quite frankly. My opponent played well as well, but just not a lot of people have matchup experience with this. So like I just don't think they get aggressive enough when they have the opportunity to do so. Um, and I did make I think a very like smart judgment call, which was I was on my heels a little bit, and I was able to set up an Ojometrio, and he had an unknown set and a spy face up defense, and I just like ran a bunch of math, um, and he was at 3,400 um, life, and I basically just calculated like if it's a Magician of Faith, I can pierce through it and win. So I think my field was Panda, Milas, and he had 5 monsters. So let me rerun the math here. So Panda was at 33 plus the Milas was, yeah, 38. So if I pierced through a Magician of Faith or something like a Night Assailant, I would win, and I had like a small amount of burn to follow it up with. So I took that risk and just like won on the spot there. The other game I just um, played pretty well. He played well, and I was just able to slow the game enough down where I was able to like go for big pushes with Panda. The other thing that I'll mention is like I just didn't have any like busted openers last night, which was weird. Like usually if you play a handful of games, you're just gonna have at least one game where you like you open like Trunade, Will, Mindcon, Cat or something like at least once within the first like 2 or 3 turns. I didn't have like any busted hands. Like I think I drew probably more Pot of Greeds and Gracefuls than maybe I deserved or like you'd expect. Um, but I didn't resolve a lot of jars, and I didn't get any like just free win um, hands either, which was very strange. So that is that. I feel like there's a lot of different stuff I want to say in these, and I always after closing these videos think of them. But the only other thing maybe is that I think this deck is really really good. It's slept on and people don't know how to play against it. I think it could use a little bit more tuning, but other than that, it feels pretty damn good. Um, but I'm probably going to start practicing with some other decks here in the not too distant future. Um, is there anything else that I wanted to say? I don't think so. Thanks for watching, guys. See you later.